I am the ghost who haunts the remains of Concordia University, Chicago, River Forest, and I need you to haunt it with me, okay? Because misery adores company the way mold adores wet bread. Come closer, rest your cheek on my shoulder, feel the static of shared disappointment. We are about to become tiny, tragic Victorians in a gothic novel nobody asked for. Picture this. A login portal the color of freezer burned peas. Every time I try to reach my courses, the site coughs up a new puzzle like a sadistic escape room. Yesterday it wanted 8 symbols, 1 hieroglyph, and the blood of a dormouse. Today it wants my mother's maiden name spelled backward in Cyrillic. Why is this bad? Because education is meant to be a door, not a dragon hoarding passwords. Every failed attempt reroutes me to a page that says, "Try again, little worm." Self-esteem can only take so many public stabbings before it leaks out in a sad puddle labeled error 404, confidence not found. I wear the same hoodie 3 weeks running because financial aid still hasn't answered my 42 emails. 42 like the meaning of life, except the answer here is we don't care, darling. I attach cheerful GIFs minions waving, cats in sunglasses shopping cuteness will unlock human empathy. Instead, silence expands like stale dough, pushing against my eardrums until I hear my pulse say scam, scam, scam. Why is ghosting students bad? Because it trains our brains to expect abandonment. Each unanswered plea becomes a tiny forecast for future relationships. They 1T text back, employers 1T call, love will archive you in spam. We learn to flinch at our own inboxes, that is curriculum here. They approve my doctorate-level transfer credits in July, but the transcript stays naked in October. I imagine those credits locked in a cobweb drawer, tied with red tape like a Christmas gift for a forgotten orphan. The registrar tells me we just need 7 more signatures. Signatures apparently written in unicorn ink on Tuesdays that end in Q every day without those credits extends my prison sentence, which means more semesters of rent and ramen, more interest on loans, more nights counting ceiling cracks like rosary beads. Why is this slow-motion pickpocketing bad? Because it weaponizes hope. The university dangles graduation like a carrot on a stick, then laughs when we bite air. Delayed graduation equals delayed income equals delayed adulthood. We stay caterpillars while former high school friends zoom past in butterfly cars. Enter the sport nutrition module, allegedly a boon for my future private practice empire. The syllabus, a PDF forged in Comic Sans purgatory, swears 97% and above earns an A. I calculate my points. 815.5 out of 840. That is 97.083%, 3 decimal places of perfection, yet the gradebook gifts me an A-, a microscopic minus but a minus nonetheless. Imagine ordering a luxury cruise and receiving a kiddie pool with a leak. The professor, who signs emails with a motivational quote about excellence, ignores my gentle query, coordinator ghosts. Apparently accountability is a carb they cut before beach season. Why is shaving off that tiny slice bad? Because it proves the rules are decorative wallpaper they rip down whenever convenient. If a contract dissolves here, it can dissolve anywhere. Leases, job offers, wedding vows. We learn the universe low-keys enjoys moving finish lines. Now the campus itself, dusk arrives purple and bruised. The lampposts flicker like they've already given up. Pathways buckle where tree roots wage slow war against concrete, perfect for twisting ankles while you rehearse excuses for unfinished homework. I clutch my laptop bag strap because last week a safety alert email warned of inappropriate night approaches. The security golf cart putters past, driven by a boy who looks barely older than my little cousin who still believes in Pokémon. I nod, he nods, neaths.
Of us believes the other can save anything. Fear plus darkness equals tiny fractures in the soul. Walk enough nights like this, and you start greeting sunrise with survivor-esque guilt. The dorm, my high-priced shoebox, smells of mildew mixed with hopelessness, which is surprisingly similar to burnt popcorn. The radiator clanks like an iron lung, providing heat in metric spurts. 3 minutes tropical, 7 minutes Arctic. My blanket is the cheap synthetic kind that sparks blue lightning when I turn over. Miniature thunderstorms warning me I am statically charged and no one is grounded. Insulation is mythic. I hear every sob, meme song, and couple-esque quarrel through walls thin as communion wafer.
Let's talk about what you can really expect from the businesses that line the streets around Concordia University Chicago River Forest. In a broad sense, the whole area feels like a place where promises are big, prices are bigger, and the delivery often feels like a bad joke. It is as if every owner decided to aim for a 5-star rating in their imagination, while the reality stays stuck in a dimly lit basement. When you step into a restaurant, the first thought that comes to mind is that portions are deliberately tiny, almost as if the chef is playing a game of hide and seek with the food. Take the Mexican spot on the main avenue. Diners repeatedly describe meals that look like they belong on a miniature plate, not a table for two, and the price tag reads as if the ingredients were harvested from a gold mine. One patron even mentioned walking away feeling sorry for the staff, because the whole experience seemed to cost more in disappointment than in dollars. The kitchen appears to have taken a vow to keep the heat off the plates, leaving burgers cold, fries limp, and even a fancy Wagyu patty forgetting its own identity. Across the street, the coffee shop that promises a warm start to the day seems to have mastered the art of making a latte feel like a tepid experiment. Customers talk about baristas who act like they are auditioning for a comedy sketch, laughing at people who simply want a cup of coffee. The menu often runs out of basic items, leaving you staring at an empty display, as if the shop is on a permanent diet. One reviewer waited a long time for a pastry that never seemed to arrive, while another described a matcha latte that looked like melted paint and tasted like plain milk. The overall vibe suggests a place more focused on counting extra charges than on counting beans. If you wander into the local bar that bills itself as an out-of-this-world hangout, the atmosphere is indeed small and cozy, but the people running the place sometimes act like they belong to a different planet. The bar staff have been reported to throw tablets like they are tossing frisbees, to refuse tips in cash, and to treat patrons with an attitude that could chill even the hottest whiskey. In one story, a newcomer was asked to move, because a regular thought the bar needed more personal space, and the request came with a whisper of discrimination. The venue tries to hide these flaws behind music and a friendly crowd, yet the underlying service can feel as cold as the drinks on the counter. Even a boutique that prides itself on unique fashion can't escape the pattern. The shop feels like a gallery where every item is carefully displayed, but the price tags scream louder than the designer labels. Visitors note that the cost of a single dress can rival a small dinner, turning a simple shopping trip into a financial gamble. The staff, while polite, seem to guard the cash register more fiercely than the latest runway trends. Finally, the upscale steakhouse that promises an unforgettable dining experience often delivers a series of small letdowns. The concept of sharing a plate of 2 steaks while paying for 2 becomes a punchline when only 1 plate arrives, and the second takes a long, silent walk to the kitchen. Steaks themselves are described as tough and overcooked, as if they have been sent through a microwave instead of a grill. Service is described as a game of hide and seek, with waiters disappearing for long stretches, and the bar staff sometimes forget to bring the right amount of wine, leaving guests with a glass that looks more like a small puddle. What does all this mean for a traveler planning a visit to this neighborhood?
Expect the possibility of high prices that do not match the quality you receive. Be prepared for service that can feel more like a puzzle than a hospitality experience. And keep an eye on the small details that many reviewers have highlighted. Cold food, missing items, and staff attitudes that can range from indifferent to outright rude. If you still want to explore the area, consider arriving early to avoid long waits, double-checking that your order is complete before the kitchen disappears, and perhaps keeping a backup plan for a coffee or a bite in a neighboring town. The charm of the community lies in its close-knit feel and the potential for hidden gems, but you will need a detective's patience and a forgiving palate to enjoy it fully. In short, the businesses around Concordia University Chicago River Forest carry a common thread of ambition that often unravels in execution. They are a reminder that not every promise shines, and sometimes the most reliable travel tip is to manage expectations, bring a sense of humor, and remember that a little disappointment can become a memorable story to tell later.
You know, when you think about the area around Concordia University Chicago in River Forest, it's like this quaint little place. But even here, the shadows of scams and frauds lurk, waiting to snatch your peace of mind during a short visit. Take, for instance, that huge clothing return scam that rocked the stores around here. It's like One moment you buying a fancy dress, and the next, someone else using your purchase to play a trick on the shop. I can only imagine the shock of the staff when they found out someone had been swapping expensive items for cheap lookalikes and claiming refunds. It's almost like a movie plot, you know, the audacity of it all. And the poor stores, they must have felt so betrayed. I bet they double-checking every return now. And then, there's the tragedy at that ice cream shop in Addison, not far from Concordia. It's just so disturbing to think that someone would invade the privacy of young girls like that. It's like, you go to work to earn some money, to feel independent, and then something so vile happens. The girls must have been so shaken, their trust in people around them shattered. I can even begin to imagine how they picked up the pieces after that. And the owner, well, I guess karma has a way of catching up with people like him, right? Now let us talk about the magazine solicitors scam at the grocery store. It's such a sneaky way to deceive people. They're just trying to buy some food, and someone approaches you with a story about charity. It tugs at your heartstrings, and before you know it, you're parting with your money for a good cause, only to find out it was all a lie. It's like your kindness gets used against you. I bet those who were scammed felt so foolish afterward, questioning their judgment, you know. But it's not their fault. Scammers are just really good at what they do. And then there's the street scams on the Magnificent Mile, a place where tourists flock